Sir, we are back after a coffee break.
Oh. Welcome.
Thanks for a good cup of coffee. Can we continue, sir?
Yes, please.
Sir, can you discuss about the impact of technology in the legal profession?
See, technology, initially when I came to the bar, it was typewriting. We used to have all pleadings and documentation typed in a typewriter. So any correction, you have to redo the whole thing. Over the years, electric typewriter came where, there could be a saving for a limited amount of data. Then came the computers. Now all this has helped in your drafting and pleading, because you correct it and you can take out any number of prints without much time delay. Secondly, I remember initially when I went to States, we went to Disney World. For the first time, we saw holographic figures in the Disney World. Today, with the VC, you go and argue in Delhi, sitting here in Bangalore in your own chamber. So these are the technological innovations which have helped people to in the profession to ensure that you don't waste so much of your time. And legal research is another aspect. We used to take quinquennial digest, 15 years digest, 50 years digest, and pour through it for days together. Now at the click of a button, you can get the entire case law spanning the entire breadth and length of the world itself. So these are the technological innovations which have enormously helped the legal profession.
What is your say about the hybrid system that we have adopted, sir, in our High Court?
Hybrid system, really helps because people, who can, they can, approach, they can appear in different courts. Different courts, different high courts of different states simultaneously. So it helps in hybrid system, definitely helps. Though, of course, if you ask me, physical appearance, is definitely better, because you are in a position to, give papers across the counter, documents, judgments, all that. But in fact, there was one case in Karnataka itself where I had appeared for one of the respondents. A lawyer from Bombay had appeared sitting in Bombay. Harish Salve from London appeared. So it was heard by Chief Justice Abhay Srinivas and his companion judge for about 3-4 days, and a final hearing, and a judgment was delivered. In fact, it has been upheld by the Supreme Court itself. So these are the things which would not have been dreamt of during the time I started my practice.
Sir, you have practiced even in the trial courts. You have practiced in the High Court. You have practiced from last 50 years. This hybrid, did you find it difficult to adjust, sir?
Fortunately, I did not. Of course, some seniors, will definitely find it difficult. But ultimately, it is this hands-on experience, is what will enable you to become masters in anything. Lawyers are always innovative in their approach. So even the seniors have dealt with it. Otherwise, our Harish Salve sitting in London, arguing a matter in Bangalore High Court was something which was unthinkable at a particular time, when I started my career.
So would you suggest that the upcoming judges should also be trained on the technology?
Definitely, it will help them, because legal research, ability to, see, after all, if you remember, stenographers today are a vanishing breed. With the software where you can dictate directly to the computer and your voice is just translated into written draft or a written pleading, will enormously help you. Similarly, judges also can dictate to the computers the judgments, and it will save a lot of time. And when stenographers, when we were young, when I initially came to the bar, there used to be every street corner, there used to be stenographic classes, typewriting classes. Today it's a vanishing breed. So, you don't get competent stenographers. Resultant position is when judges, dictate lengthy judgments, correction becomes a problem, because there will be bound to be some mistakes. In some cases, mistakes, to the tune of about 30-40%, and you will go mad correcting your own draft. So if the judges are able to, use the technology and be able to dictate, their judgments to the computer, which can just type out their judgments in a matter of, instantaneously, it will help them enormously.
How tech savvy you are, sir? We always see you with an iPad.
I've been using it because initially when I came, we all, keep a diary where we keep, write down, important case law. Two of my friends started digital diary. That was the mini computer. And I said, no, this is something, which we can't do. Even after 6 months, they kept on using it. Then I said, look, I must also start using it. I am not, less in intellect than them. So I bought a digital diary, started putting in, the case law. And it is hands-on experience, and you start learning. Then I purchased my first computer in 1985, paying, 83. I think, and I paid a ransom of 85,000 for a, I think it was 120 KB or some such thing. Today, 1 trillion bytes, you will probably be cheaper, at 8,000 you will get it. So that's the technological innovations, and I'm sure in a matter of course, the technological innovations are such. AI is being now used. After all, artificial intelligence, it can, give you, it can do research on your behalf and give you, ask it to write an essay. So similarly, you can ask it to write a judgment, and based on that, you can start correcting it. These are the innovations which definitely will help the legal profession.
So what is your say about the judiciary, sir?
As I said, out of the 3 limbs of the state, the legislature, the executive and the judiciary, if you ask the common man in whom he has faith, without batting an eyelid, he will say, I have faith in the judiciary. So judiciary today is at the top of every man's, psychology, or the trust and faith that the common man has in judiciary is of the highest order. Therefore, there is enormous amount of potential in the judiciary. And it is able to give succor to the people. They are not able to get succor outside because of various reasons. Whereas they come and knock the doors of the court. And the court is able to give them succor. And that is what has happened. And there is no corruption. See, when there is so much of corruption outside, when there is no corruption here, that again, ennobles, their own faith and trust, and, increase their faith and trust in the judiciary. And they are able to get succor without, spending any money. Whereas outside, if they have to get the same relief, they would have to spend a fortune. And common man, doesn't have, he is not rich. He doesn't have deep pockets. So all this, results in the judiciary being an important facet of everybody's life. And they would be able, the judiciary has a lot of potential.
Sir, you are a role model to the youngsters. You are a role model to the fraternity itself. How do you see this fraternity going in the next 50 years, sir?
When I came to the bar, the seniors would say, oh, there is a downfall of values. Now we are seeing the same thing. But then if you look back, you will find that, there is lot of change. Yes, there is erosion of values in the society. After all, we don't come from heaven. We are also part of the same society. Therefore, there is erosion in values even amongst lawyers, even amongst the judges. But then, the potential is there. The scope is there. USA is a lawyer-driven society. We are slowly inching towards it. Whereas in the US, the ratio of population to judge is 10 times more than in India. Therefore, there is a need for more number of judges. Look at the amount of pendency in the courts. It needs, more judges, more competent people to man the judiciary.
Sir, youngsters who are completing their law graduation, they are in a confusion whether to come to profession or to get into a job or get to work somewhere. What is your advice to them, sir?
My advice to every youngster who passes out of law college is to first come into litigation for at least about 2 to 3 years, because you will know what are the pitfalls in even a transactional matter. Supposing there's a lease deed, a partition deed, or even a contract, a transactional contract. What normally these youngsters would do is they'll go into the web, do a cut and paste job, not knowing what are the nuances, what are the pitfalls. Once you are into litigation, you know what are the pitfalls in clauses of various documentation. So you are a better better lawyer as a transaction lawyer when you have some experience of litigation. Many a times what happens is, they won't know. They will prepare a draft and send it across. Without prejudice also, they won't put it. Now, you may, admit certain things. When they send it across, unintentionally you may admit, and that will be held against you. So when you go into litigation, you know how you have to deal with these matters. That's what I would say. My advice to all youngsters is, start with litigation at least for about 2-3 years, then go into corporate world, or even to take a job in corporate companies or corporate entities.
Because they feel is that there is not much security in this profession as compared to a corporate job where they will get...
I agree with you. Litigation is a tough taskmaster where you don't have money flowing into your pockets. Things are much better now. There were times when I started practice, we didn't get even a rupee from our seniors. Today, the youngsters do get paid, may not be handsomely, not compared to the corporate world, not compared to the companies where they would take a job. But ultimately, the experience that you get will hold in good stead when you get into the corporate world, or even get into the companies as law officers.
So what you're saying is, as compared to your days as a youngster, the prospect is more now for the youngsters.
Definitely.
In the profession.
Definitely. After all, IPR, intellectual property rights, were not there. Now take for example, surrogacy.
Yes.
Was it heard of? It was unheard of during my days. Today, with the surrogacy being prevalent, there are litigation which are cropping out of it. Take for example, the space law. A stage will come, a time will come when there will be litigation in respect of space law itself. It's a growing field. Sports law, technological innovations, the newer laws which come up, the march of the society itself will create more disputes, more problems. So lawyers are needed to resolve those disputes, and therefore there is a tremendous amount of scope.
Sir, can you say something about this ADR and the mediation, sir, and the prospect to the bar?
See, ADR comprises of arbitration, conciliation, judicial settlement, and conciliation, mediation. But then see, what happens is, arbitration is strictly not a ADR according to me, because it's only a change of forum from the court to the arbitrator. But the other three are definitely matters of conciliation and ADR according to me. What happens is, having regard to the fact that there is an enormous amount of pendency in courts, having regard to the fact that a rupee today is worth 50 rupees after 3 years, ADR will result in a better relief for the person. If he gets 50 paise in a rupee today,
Yes.
it is worth more than 1.5 rupees after 3 years.
Certainty versus some uncertainty.
Correct. And with that 50 rupees,
Correct.
he will be able to earn 3 times that. Therefore, ADR is a better methodology of dispute resolution according to me. And as the saying goes in Kannada, Geddama Sota, Sotama Satta ant heli Kannadadallide. That is, a person who wins in court loses, and the person who loses dies. We have seen, litigants lingering on in courts for 10, 15, 20 years. What relief? Absolutely. And uncertainty. See, what happens is, of course, the ordinary litigant, the ordinary citizen doesn't know. In court, you have to establish truth as the truth. You know, it looks ludicrous, but then it is the evidence that you give. It's the, when a person gets into the witness box, he fumbles out of sheer nervousness, and he may give statements which are contrary to actual reality. So all these are uncertainties are there. Therefore, ADR is definitely a better resolution process than the litigation itself.
So though it was your personal choice, sir, why did you not aspire to be on the bench?
I had my son, who was not well, and we had to take him to US and other places. So I had no choice but to decline, because I didn't want the government to take care of his expenses, all that. So I had to decline.
So if not a lawyer, what was the alternative profession that you would have chosen?
I don't know, because from the young age, I've been wanting to become a lawyer. Maybe I might have become a doctor, because my neighbor in Mangalore when he was young, he was a doctor, a general practitioner, and there was a lot of bondage. We used to call him as Ajja, grandfather, and we used to be in his house. So maybe if I was not a lawyer, I might have become a doctor, trying to emulate him and that profession.
Did you ever think to be in politics?
As a student in the law college, I was in the thick of politics. I was the college secretary. I contested for student council, which comprised of 51 colleges of the university. Lost by 1 vote. Ultimately, we found that 2 of my supporters hadn't come because they were threatened, and we went to court and got an injunction. Had I been elected, maybe I might have been a politician instead of being a lawyer.
You are a practicing advocate. You are also AG for four times. When you shifted from practice to AG, that is to say Advocate General of the state, did you have any difficulty adjusting to that?
Absolutely not, because I had dealt with every kind of litigation in my private practice.
No, what I meant is sacrifice it to your
Sacrifice, yes. I was earning 1% of what I was earning outside. I had a huge establishment. I had to continue to fund it from my savings. And therefore, there was enormous amount of sacrifice. And I wouldn't, my nature is such that I would never ask for special fees. And therefore, it is tough being the Advocate General, getting 1% of what you earn outside. And not only that, half your clientele will go, because half the litigation, especially in the High Court, is against the state and the instrumentalities of the state. These are the things.
As AG of the state, did you have any embarrassing situation or a conflicting situation?
Fortunately for me, nobody, touched me, whether it be the chief minister, whether it be the governor, whether it be anybody. My opinion was final, and they knew that when I give an opinion, that's a correct opinion. So fortunately for me, everybody respected me, thanks to their own faith in me.
Sir, how important is teamwork in our profession?
Teamwork will always help. For example, when I conducted the Krishna water dispute tribunal case, I had to cross-examine a triple PhD witness from who was the witness for Andhra. He was an IIT professor. I had to sit with scientific principles were involved in it. So I had to necessarily sit with 3 Indian Institute of Science professors, get details of the scientific principles, and then work on it on my own. So this helps. Secondly, when you have important cases, if there are colleagues who will be able to do some research, it shortens your time in legal research, so that you can devote it for looking at the factual matrix, or thinking about as to how you can conduct the case or argue the matter. So teamwork definitely helps.
So do you agree that your colleagues or junior colleagues have contributed in your success?
Definitely, they'll all help in legal research, or ultimately, I've always said this, humility should be a hallmark of any person. And if you have humility, you will learn anything and everything under the sun. If you don't have humility, you think that you know everything, and then you become a fool. So you can learn even from a child. So colleagues definitely help.
Did you ever face any situation where you had to disagree with them, or was there any conflict of that sort?
No, disagreements are bound to be there. After all, my own experience and their experience is quite vast and wide. So they will come up with the proposition, which on the face of it may not be agreeable to me. So I will have to overrule it. All that kind of a thing happens. But then I may not be always right. They may also be right. That's why I said humility is the hallmark of greatness. Arrogance is that of the dictator. So if you have humility, you will learn from everybody, and you are a better human being and a better professional.
So can you say a few words about Mr. Vivek?
Vivek is my son. So he's been in the practice for the last 20 years. When he graduated from National Law School, one day he called me up saying, I want to join you, how much are you paying? I jokingly said, I'm not paying you anything. Next day he called me up and said, sir, I've been selected by a Bombay firm. I'm going there. They are giving me 35,000 a month. So I said, all the best. And they went there to Bombay. He was there for 3 years, and when I became the Advocate General, he asked him whether he is willing to come, because the office is there. And he came back.